I want to tell you something about words that I think is important. I love, as I say, they're my work, they're my play, they're my passion. Words are all we have, really. There are some people that aren't into all the words. There are some people that would have you not use certain words. Yeah, there are 400,000 words in the English language, and there are 7 of them you can't say on television. What a ratio that is. 399,993 to 7. They must really be bad.
George Carlin was one of the most well-known comedians of the past half-century. He was widely considered one of the top stand-up comics of all time. In a career that spanned half a century, he released 22 comedy albums, earning him 5 Emmy nominations, 4 Grammys. He was the first guest host of Saturday Night Live in 1975, appeared on The Tonight Show 130 times, starred in 14 HBO specials, and authored 3 best-selling books.
As late as 1967, he was still in the mainstream, a regular on a summer replacement TV comedy series alongside Richard Pryor, and also still in a suit and a tie.
Yeah, have you seen this one?
Marge! Marge! My shirts have hidden dirt!
Well, it's not dirt. You hid it.
Then came the great breakthrough, the 7 words you can never say on television. George Carlin changed America with those 7 words, and he changed comedy, of course.
Barracks talk. Bawdy, naughty, saucy, raunchy.
When Carlin did the bit during a 1972 show in Milwaukee, he was arrested. He was charged with disturbing the peace. A state judge later dismissed the case, saying, while Carlin's language may have been indecent, it still represented free speech.
There are some words that you can go to jail for. Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
A radio listener launched a complaint with the FCC after hearing George Carlin's routine. The FCC versus Pacifica case would become one of the most important recent Supreme Court decisions on free speech. The legal controversy brought about the FCC rule permitting a ban on certain material when children are most likely to be in the audience.
This, I'm intrigued with this album. If I may read this. George Carlin, FM and AM. And then there's a little sticker on here that says, it is recommended that the contents of this album are screened carefully before clearing for airplay. Are they going to rate albums now? Is this an X-rated album? Sure.
No, I hope not. But there are words, they're still kind of taboo. So they want to warn disc jockeys not to put it on by accident with a big sound. Okay, let's give it a listen.
Carlin was using these words to shock people, but also to raise this larger point of, why are these words, why did they cause such fear in us? In the late 60s, when this country really went through a cultural revolution, he was the guy, I think, who brought stand-up comedy into that cultural revolution. I mean, he was a short-haired comic, sort of skinny-tie guy who did sort of straight-laced material on the Ed Sullivan Show. He looked around in the late 60s, and he was hanging out with musicians. He was seeing with the protest movement. He was seeing what was happening, and he decided he was doing material for the enemy. He wanted to talk to a different audience, the college audience. That he wanted to go back into the coffee houses, and this was a radical thing for a guy to do with a successful career. So he started all over again, and he started doing material that really reflected the attitudes of that counterculture generation.
Where a man might find a bed, he just shook my hand, no was all he said.
George, you've undergone some changes in the last couple of years. Each time I've seen you, you've been a little bit different. Has this made you a better person or a better performer in any way?
I don't know about better. It's made me more efficient as a person. I mean, I don't spend time worrying about things that aren't important. It's not that I had such a radical change, it's that I kind of got detoured for a while, because I was always doing ladies on quiz shows or newsmen or disc jockeys, and I was hiding behind these things. I didn't know it consciously, but television rewarded that. See, that's one facet of my comedy, is I am a mimic. And they rewarded that so much for me, starting in 1965, that I just forgot myself, and I was not in my act anymore. And that was not, the reason I went into this, as anyone knows, you go into it as self-expression, and once you're not doing that, forget it. So it just dawned on me. I said, hey, wait a second, now look here.
But what Carlin loved best was using irreverence to force us to re-examine what we'd long stopped thinking about.
We were founded on a very basic double standard. This country was founded by slave owners who wanted to be free. Am I right? a group of slave owners who wanted to be free. So they killed a lot of white English people in order to continue owning their black African people so they could wipe out the rest of the red Indian people and move west and steal the rest of the land from the brown Mexican people, giving them a place to take off and drop their nuclear weapons on the yellow Japanese people. You know what the motto? You know what the motto of this country ought to be? You give us a color, we'll wipe it out. You got it.
George?
Yes, sir.
One of my favorite things in the world is to see you on stage talking about politics. No one does it like you.
Thank you, sir.
Are you familiar with Howard Zinn or people like thinkers like Noam Chomsky? And how come we never see these people on TV?
Well, Howard Zinn and Noam Chomsky, those people aren't on TV because they have intellects and they're dissenters, and the limits of debate in this country are set before the debate begins. These people will not be included. The debate will take place between these two poles, and we'll have them on Ted Koppel, and it's an argument between sanes.
And also, in the parlance of some television programming executives, the gentlemen that the caller mentions are considered to be boring. They're not interesting enough, they're not motivated enough, and they're not dynamic enough, so therefore people will not watch them.
Too many ideas.
Yeah.
No,
a dangerous thing.
No
dangerous
strange sex to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's essentially my reading of it. This country has a limited experiment in democracy.
Thank you. Thank you. Why is it that most of the people who are against abortion are people you wouldn't want to fuck in the first place, huh?